Hi, guys. Welcome back. Thanks for joining me on my new podcast. I have a special guest for us today. We're going to be speaking with the Instagram account ALLRHONJ Facts. She was just listed in Reality Blurb for coming out with some exclusive tea. So we're excited to have her tonight. We have a lot of questions. We're going to be talking about New Jersey. But first, let me let her introduce herself and tell us a little bit about her account and where you can find her.
Hi, party people. Hi, this is all RHONJ Facts. My Instagram is strictly and only RHONJ. I love dropping receipts and getting into the juiciest, hottest, latest tea from Jersey. And it's only Jersey, which I love because that seriously is the only show I watch on Bravo. I watch no other franchise. I know I'm crazy, but I love RHONJ and I'm obsessed.
Obsessed?
Obsessed.
Well,
I love it.
you do a great job of always being up to date with the tea, and you posted a lot about the baseball game that we saw this week with the housewives. And of course, we want to let you guys know everything in this video is alleged, so make sure that you guys understand that. We have a disclaimer and a banner running at the bottom, so there should be no discretions, but everything is alleged. And tell us a little bit about the game that we saw. We saw clips. What was happening?
Yes, I had somebody there exclusively reporting, grabbing tea for me, sending me messages throughout the night, and there was a lot that went down. I think the first thing that we should touch on, which is kind of ironic because I don't really see how Jackie Goldschneider is really relevant, but she is making some headlines because apparently she's fighting with, first we saw her getting into it with Joe B, then she was getting into it with like several other cast members, and then Margaret. So it's been out there already that the reason they were arguing was because she mentioned that Margaret said that she's the reason why Jackie got book deal, which I personally wish, I know it took her some time to get comfortable, but I wish she would have got into that very first season because that's when the book would have made a little more sense, but like
Absolutely.
like why we're even talking about Jackie is beyond me. Like, I'm sorry, she was demoted, and there's nothing too really interesting there for many, because I get a lot of comments like, why are we talking about Jackie? Who really cares if she's fighting with Margaret? Like, both of those girls have no storyline. They're both boring. Like, move on, and I totally agree. I agree with them. I do think they're both really irrelevant. I mean, if Margaret's not out there digging for people, to make that her storyline, there's really not much we know about Margaret Josephs. But Jackie, like, I always said from the get-go, she would have like clapped back when the Evan stuff came out. I know Teresa's the one who said it at the party, but if Jackie would have like took the moment to like clap back at Margaret, because even Margaret's own husband made it clear at Joe Gorga's poker party that night that he heard it, from his house. So,
Exactly. And I think that oh, I'm sorry, go ahead.
No, I was just saying, I wish these girls would like clap back already. It would make the show a lot more interesting, like, and give them a better storyline. I think they would get a lot of people on their side if they were to just step to Margaret. But again, I think that they're scared of her. She has too much on her. There's too much to be exposed. So I think they, don't clap back. And for some reason, they always take it out on Teresa.
I know, it seems like it felt like at that point that Jackie was just showing blind loyalty to Margaret, and blind loyalty is not interesting, guys. Nobody wants to see blind loyalty. We don't want to see blind loyalty from Fessler to Margaret the entire year. I mean, when they had Jen Fessler on Watch What Happens Live, like they cut the episode short because there was no content. Because every answer was, "Oh, I'm not going to talk about Margaret, and Margaret's my best friend, and I'm not going to talk about her." It was boring. Nobody wanted to hear that.
Didn't they cut Margaret's Watch What Happens Live short too when she was on with Jackie? Remember that? Andy was like, "Well, I'm tired."
Yes, yeah, and that's like not a great sign, guys. And Margaret,
I mean, even when the boss when the boss is bored, you're not bringing too much, honey.
Yeah, that's not like a great sign when your boss is bored. And Margaret looked so out of place, like among all of the like youthful women, that Teresa and the girls, Danielle at the game. Like Margaret looked out of place. She had on like blue leggings. Her shirt was like oversized. She's lost so much weight. I don't know if she looks better or worse. I'm not even sure what I'm looking at. it's confusing to me.
Yeah, I don't understand why we're even talking about Jackie, but it did come out that the fight was over a damn book deal, which is like at this point, who really cares? Like, I don't buy into the whole story that they're fighting over a damn book deal. I really do think that they need a storyline, both of them, because they have nothing going and they made this shit up and they want to be talked about, which is working because we're talking, but it's like, next.
Exactly. I'm like, I don't want to see Jackie argue with Joe B, because Joe B clearly said on camera that the Evan rumor was true, and she was in such denial over it. I don't know. I think she really sealed her deal that season because she just couldn't handle it. She was upset. She was emotional. Like, it wasn't good for her. It wasn't a good look. She
No.
needs a publicist. She needs a stylist. If you want to be on national television, then you got to get some professional people helping you. Okay. Like, you need it, sissy. You need it.
Well, not just that. I mean, it's just all of their storylines have fallen flat. Like everything they've ever accused anyone else of, it's like, come on. It's boring. It's not interesting. I mean, yes, it was really shitty that Margaret brought out the Aiden's 10-year-old affair, but I mean, Jennifer owned it like no other, clapped back, put her in her place, and it was like done. Like, so they couldn't try to drag her for it, for denying it. And that's what I love about Jennifer. She's so damn honest. Like you can't like pull one on her. Like she'll stop you in your tracks. And that's exactly what she did. I think that season Margaret really thought she was going to drag Jennifer for this when it was a really horrible situation Jennifer went through. I mean, she looked how she said she didn't even tell her family. Like she had to deal with this stuff like all on her own and then leave it to Margaret to bring it out on national television just because the bitch needed a storyline. Like, give me a break. Like nobody was interested. And I'm so happy Jennifer stopped her in her tracks. But Jackie, like it's a story that's already played out and done. Like there was nothing really interesting there. I know she does have some fans and kudos to you guys, but I don't see why in season 14, when there's so many other hot topics that we could be discussing, why we even care if Margaret said Jackie's book deal was thanks to her,
Absolutely. I mean, what are your thoughts about the Jennifer? I mean, how did Margaret find this information on Jennifer? Like, do you think she knew this was coming, or she looked very caught off guard? I thought she did an amazing job handling it as well. But do you think the other ladies knew about this rumor and Jennifer knew they knew or did not know that they knew?
I don't think Jennifer knew that they knew, but remember Jackie at that last season when they were all in white when Louis brought Teresa the drink at the end of the reunion? Remember how Jackie was telling Jennifer, we know stuff about you, Jennifer. I would watch it. And Jackie did say in one of the after shows that they had known about the rumor for some time, thanks to Margaret. But I think the reason why Margaret brought it out is because she does what Margaret does. She goes digging in trash cans. She'll go to like any which link to talk to anybody. I mean, Laura Jensen did tell us over and over again that she's up all night on her iPad. Even Joe Benigno would complain to Laura Jensen in the morning and say, this one up all night talking to this person and that person, and she just doesn't sleep. She's just constantly digging because she knows that is her role on the show. To get in the mud, to get dirty and then to fling it at people, which is why I'm so glad again that Jennifer stopped her from the get-go. Like she didn't let her like drag it into the next episode. And Jennifer, that's another reason why she's like loved by so many. She's so real. There's nothing to hide there. And she wasn't hiding that. That was just something in her life 10 years ago. I don't think she was going to come on the show and be like, guys, I have something I'm hiding that's 10 years old that absolutely no one knew but me. So I just think that like, even real quick, because I brought up Laura Jensen, Laura did also tell us, I think she told us when she was talking in an interview with Kim D, that Margaret made it clear to everybody that she was letting producers know that it was time for Jackie to exit the show because she was too weak for this. She couldn't handle that. Remember? That
Yes,
she didn't
I do.
For it, that she just didn't have what it, she doesn't have what it takes. That she's too big of a person, that she needs to get off the show. So I think it's funny now that those two are working together to gather up a storyline to make themselves relevant.
And that's the best they could come up with was her book that no one even knew that she was writing and nobody is lining up to buy. Like, I sort of feel a little bit bad for Jackie. Kudos for at least trying. But again, there is like some sort of relevancy to even if she's talking about like her eating disorder and any of that. Like, I think she's still very much dealing with her eating disorder after a long time. So it's going to be, I think, traumatic for her to read another book and talk about it and be out doing press. I just don't see it being
Yeah,
super.
and she's really wishy-washy, Jackie, too. I wish she would just stand firm on like what her truth is, because for the longest time, when everyone found out she was demoted in season 13, she was out there telling the world that she wasn't. And then when we found out she was, and it was made known that she was just a friend of in season 13, she then started saying she needed the time because she was dealing with her eating disorder, which good for her. If you need to take a step back and take care of your health issues, go for it. But like, she was first telling us, oh no, I'm not demoted. Then she's like, okay, yes, I am, because I had to take time for me, guys. I'm going through these issues. But then in several like recent interviews, she's discussing how it was a gut punch, like to the, like, it was like a bomb was dropped on her. She said it like that. Like, I was in shock. Like, I couldn't believe it. It was like a punch to the ego. Like, I can't believe I got demoted. So it's like, what is it? You needed time and you were glad they demoted you? Or are you like, your ego's bruised and you can't believe you got demoted? But at the same time, you had your girlfriend over there, Margaret, telling her bestie of 40 years and all the other girls on the cast that you weren't like cut out for this show, that you're too weak, telling producers that it's your time to go. And then bam, they demoted you and you're still over here sticking to her side. Why I strongly believe, like, I really do believe that the whole book deal is like made up. 2 days prior to the baseball game, Margaret liked Jackie's post about her book. If you go on her Instagram, there's a picture of her standing outside, I think, of the publisher's office in New York, and she has a caption talking about her book. Margaret liked that post. And that
Oh,
was 2 days prior to the baseball game.
oh my gosh. They
Yeah,
like try to play us.
it's phony. Yes, like, come on, we're not that stupid, you guys. Find a better storyline.
Oh
Yeah,
my
no,
gosh.
like, this is the shit they're coming up with because they can't use the clapback queen and they can't use the Queen of Jersey for clout. This is the
Ugh.
shit they throw at us. I mean,
How
that, and then the body shots that we saw at Joe Gorga's party. Come on.
that was really terrible. I mean, that was just like, I mean, I can't even, like, Joe had those pink pants on. I felt like you could see what was going on. Like, Lexi was on her knees in a dress on one side, Margaret on the other.
He
Lexi
was
was pouring.
barefoot. It was cringe.
Oh, it was bad.
Cringe.
It was very bad. Very
And
bad.
I found it ironic that she was taking shots. Miss, I don't drink. Everybody, please buy my water.
I know. I couldn't believe. I thought, is she really drinking or are they playing us again? Like, did she eat a couple of gummies and she's going to pretend like she's drunk, but really she's stoned?
Uh, who knows, right? Who knows with these girls? I
Right.
just think it's funny. Like, they're trying to pull all this stuff out of their hats, like trying to get something going because again, they can't use Teresa and Jennifer for a storyline.
Talking about Margaret and the storehouse, how do you think that Teresa's handling everything? I mean, everyone wants to know, like, how is filming going with Teresa? Like, how is she handling this? Is she, being
Well,
strong?
I keep seeing a lot of people, mainly the haters, and they have a right to their opinion as we have a right to ours. And the one thing that you won't see is us on their side, like talking shit to them about talking shit about Teresa, mainly because they're pushing the storyline right now that she's irrelevant, that they're icing her out, that nobody wants to film with her, that she's got nothing going on, she's not at any of these events, blah, 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 blah. It's like, please, if we go back and watch every single season, whether she was included in scenes or not, because there was a season where she was like on an island by herself. Remember when Kathy, Melissa, Jackie,
Yep.
Jacqueline, Caroline, like everybody was icing her out. They were all like against her. Remember the green dress, the
Yes.
that reunion where she was on fire? Like, there has been many seasons where Teresa has not been included, but then if you watch the season over, her scenes were so iconic, so like they really pull you in because they're so authentic. Like, she's got enough with her girls and her family that when we get to watch the season, she doesn't need the other cast to give us a good show. As a matter of fact, I would say Jennifer and Teresa's scenes solo are far better than the scenes with all the girls together. They give us more like it's real, it's
Yes.
scenes that we relate to, and that's where some of the most iconic, scenes come from. They originate with Teresa when she's on her own. So I'm not worried for her at all. I just think it's a narrative the haters are pushing, that she's being iced out and nobody wants to film with her. It's like, you know what? She's that powerful. She doesn't need anybody. Which I know it's not true, because she has Dolores, she has Jennifer. She's been really good with Jen Fessler. Like, she's not being iced out. It's just a narrative we're seeing play out on social media because there's a lot of haters, unfortunately.
Ugh.
I think
Speaking
she's
of sources and the baseball game, I heard some tea. I know that we saw Joe Gorga and Bill Aiden like kikiing. It looked like smiles, rainbows, and butterflies, but I heard that it was not rainbows and butterflies and that they were actually arguing but smiling while they were arguing to like save face for the crowd.
Oh yeah, I totally believe that. I heard that too. And you know what? Bill Aiden is a class act. He is definitely no Joe Gorga. He is not going to go out there and get all wild and crazy, especially at a baseball charity game. I do believe that, that whole narrative we saw them push that night, that, oh, look, Bill is good with Joe. I don't think so. I don't think
Yeah.
so. I just think he handled himself, classy. He didn't bite Joe Gorga's head off, but I totally believe that it wasn't, all peaches and cream between them two.
I completely agree with you. I think that we have to remember Bill Aiden is a doctor. He owns a practice where people come and put their life in his hand. Like, he's not going to go around acting foolish. Like, he is a stand up guy. He's a doctor. He's very educated, well spoken, and he runs his own business that's not being sued, for unpaid material and such. So we have to give him some credit. And I definitely think that Joe Gorga was saving face. Also, I wanted to touch base. There's a video that came out that was when Melissa and Joe first arrived. And if you look at it, there's like producers in all black t-shirts and jeans and tennis shoes. And they're like pushing the crowd towards Joe to like take photos and greet him and make it look like the crowd is just bombarding him because they're so happy to see him at the game. Did you see
I
this?
saw that. Yes, I saw that. You could even see, and it was the producers moving one of the gates to let people through. And I just think, again, shady that they keep trying to push this narrative that the Gorgas are so popular and are really wanted in regards to the show. And I think it's really only the producers. I know we're all definitely exhausted and over the family drama because it's so dark and disgusting. I mean, if we have had a decade of nonstop between the Gorgas and the Judices, like, can you imagine, like, the people who are showing up to these baseball charity games, like, or any events where the Gorgas show up? You really think that like 90% of the crowd is going to be rushing them, like goo goo gaga over them? I don't think so. And I love that clip, that video came out showing the producers like ushering people to get close to them to make it look like they were like Hollywood actors, like on the red carpet, and everybody wanted that picture. It's so
Yes.
phony.
It was very phony. Also, another thing I wanted to touch base on, there were actually people in the crowd wearing Envy t-shirts. There was like two girls wearing Envy t-shirts, and then two very, very young girls wearing like belly shirts with Joe Gorga's face on them. And it clearly looked like they were planted there. Like the Envy shirts looked like maybe they were somebody that worked with Melissa or worked at Envy that came to the game. It did not look authentic. Did you
No,
see
it was
that?
definitely planted because there was a couple pictures that we saw on Twitter. It was hilarious. So for some reason, the Gorga fans were all clustered in one area of the entire baseball stadium. That how is that a coincidence? I don't think
Exactly.
so. You know what I mean? Like
Exactly.
that was not by accident, you guys. And I love that people were pointing it out because it's true. It's true. Like, how is it that all the Gorga fans were in one section? Come on. Come on.
Hilarious. It's hilarious. It's like literally laughable. And they just like
Yes.
eat it up like it's the best thing. Let's also touch base on I talked about the fact that Melissa came out with a fashion show that she's having. She's charging $325 before taxes and fees for a meet and greet. And she's also claiming that she sold out in 12 hours. What are you hearing about this?
Okay, first of all, I really don't believe people are like lining up to buy tickets to meet Melissa Gorga at $325 a pop. Okay, I don't buy that. And the fact that she supposedly sold out in 24 hours is just comedy. First of all, she's doing that event through Eventbrite, which is the same company that Namaste Bitches Live is doing their event through. And if you go on the Envy Fashion Show ticket website, which is through Eventbrite, and you click to purchase tickets, it's not giving you an option to where you can sit. It's not even giving you a chart to show you what is available. It's not giving you numbers to see what's left. So there's no way for us to verify if VIP section is sold out like every other event out there when you purchase tickets. So I mean, even if you buy like a so-called general admission ticket, which is like $125 just to walk to go. Okay, first of all, who's going to pay $125 to go sit and watch a so-called fashion show where the models are sporting Shein and Amazon clothing? That's just bonkers. But when you go to buy just those general admission tickets, it's not even showing you a seating chart or telling you how many are available. So the fact that it's being concealed, like the seating chart, the number of tickets already sold and things like that, like I just think it's another one of their little schemes, you know. She really did want to push the narrative that she sold out her VIP, which is highly unlikely.
I completely agree with you. After I posted the video with the $325 tickets, I felt like she followed up first thing in the morning and was like, "Oh my God, we sold out." And I'm like, "Oh my God, you're lying." Like, no way did you sell out. But okay, everyone, happy Wednesday. Like, we're in Melissa's world today. I don't know. Um, I also wanted to mention that the Namaste Bitches is having a live performance on October 5th. So it looks like Melissa Feaster and Teresa are going to be there live. And guys, for $99, you can get a meet and greet with Teresa, which is still cheaper than it is just to walk into Melissa's fashion show at $125 a pop. So just something to leave you guys with. As
Yes, and I love the fact that there's bloggers out there putting out the comparison. Current clothes being sold at Envy right now for like $300. You can buy it for $12.99 or $40. There was even a dress that I saw that was $380 at Envy. Somebody posted it from Shein. You can buy it for $25. Like, who's gonna pay to go see like price gouging? I mean,
I
who's
understand.
gonna pay that? I don't want to see. Well, I mean, no, like I'm not knocking Amazon or Shein. Like, shop where you want. I'd rather buy something, at a lesser value than overpaying at a fucking boutique. But save your money. But I'm not gonna want to sit there and watch a fashion show where I know the owner is price gouging, and she's showing off the latest line at Amazon. Like it makes no sense.
Ugh, I'm so glad to see other people exposing them because that's what originally led to my confrontation with Melissa was posting about there were two outfits that were specific to like she had marked it up by like $200. Like the outfit was literally $25 on Amazon and she had marked it up, well, Envy marked it up $200, and that's why she sent my original cease and desist way back in March. So this has been going on for a very long time. No one's ever exposed them for it.
Yeah, and you know what? They kind of did themselves dirty by coming for you the way they did, and what they did to you was horrific. I love that several like Bravo bloggers talked about what they did to you, how they doxed you, how they had their people, her family members coming for you. I love that all their nastiness was exposed as they were coming for you. But I think the most beautiful thing that came out of this horrific situation was that we were exposed to the fact on paper and by names that Envy is not solely owned by Melissa Gorga. She likes to put it out there that she's this big old businesswoman and she's running this fucking empire, when in reality, it's the same situation as when she was with Jackie. Melissa was just the face of Envy. Jackie owned all the clothes. She was the one behind it all, and it was her partner. But the thing now with Envy is there's several business partners. It's not just one person behind Melissa. So I think it's funny that she acts like she's raking in the dough when we know after the other owners get their cut, Melissa is walking away with crumbs.
Crumbs for
Yeah.
sure. I
So,
would agree with you. Even though she's claiming on her podcast that they're bringing in seven figures, guys, a boutique is. I mean, that it would be crazy for them to be bringing in seven figures, don't you think? For the size.
yeah. Yeah. You know who we need to interview on that? Kim D, because she knows the ins and outs. She knows what, money can be made. And I really doubt that Melissa Gorga is selling the way she's claiming to sell. Remember when Andy Cohen released his book and he was there in Jersey signing at a local bookstore? And Melissa's store was like right around the corner. And that same day that Andy was going to be signing books, she mentioned to everybody on her stories, come visit me at Envy, come in for a picture. And there was a sweet guy who was there like all afternoon waiting for her. And he kept going live on Instagram. He kept posting his lives and his stories. He was walking around Envy, and there was literally one other person other than him there. And he went outside as Melissa pulled up in her SUV, and he walked around the SUV. And as she stepped out of her car, he's like, I've been waiting forever. Oh my God. He was so happy to see her. And she was like, hi. And then she was taking pictures with him. But I mean, that man alone proved to us that even on the day she said, guys, I will be there, come and meet me, he was there for like 2 hours. No one was there.
That
It was
is like
empty.
heartbreaking.
It was empty. Yeah, it's crazy. It's one, Lindsay, one story after another. When it comes to Melissa and Joe, it's embarrassing at this point. Everything is a fraud. Everything is so fake. So fake. Nothing is real. Nothing is authentic. I honestly like feel whatever they say, believe the opposite.
I mean, there was a new blind item release that's allegedly Melissa and Joe Gorga, and it basically stated that as the kids are headed back to school, this East Coast housewife, husband, and wife are going to be headed to court because they owe a lot of money for materials for their home that they did not pay for, allegedly. So I guess we're going to be seeing some more things filed within the court about supplies and things that were unpaid as it pertains to their mansion.
I mean, we already know there's that $110,000 lawsuit currently active on the courts. They're being sued as we. If back in season 5, we can talk about tabloids that involved Teresa and everybody fucking passed around that magazine like if it was news of the day, we better hear about the Gorgas lawsuits in season 14. It's out there. It's out there. And you know what's funny? Page 6 won't talk about it. Bravo and Cocktails won't talk about it, but if it was Teresa's lawsuit, it would be all over the damn place, all over the place. It's crazy.
Oh, sure.
I mean, I really hope we see some of their lawsuits on the show,
I do too. I've always
Like
kind of said that.
let's talk about their reality for once.
Yeah, I don't think that Melissa really knows her reality. Like, I'm not trying to be hateful when I say that, but I do think that she's like confused it. She's talked about it in her interview with MJ from Shaw's of Sunset, that like it's confusing to be like the character on the show and then real life, and it doesn't match. And I just think she's literally convinced herself that her life is different than it is because she believes it almost.
Oh yeah, she's to that point of delusion where she's seriously believing her own bullshit.
Oh, sorry to hear that. Also wanted to know if you had heard anything about Polly and Dolores and how things are going with Polly filming. Do we know anything there?
Well, there was that incident between Polly and John Fuda at Jen Fessler's party, and I've heard it discussed elsewhere. And I was discussing this with the Andy from The Real Andy of Beverly Hills.
Oh,
I was
yeah,
just on his pod. He's so sweet. Yes. So he was mentioning that at that party, John Fuda was getting a little heated, that he had been drinking. And there was a lot of reports that came out the night of the party. If you saw it on the timeline over on Twitter and on Instagram, too, people were talking about it, that there was an incident between Polly and John Fuda. But the reality of that is there was no incident. It's not like Polly was fighting with John Fuda. It was more like Polly was trying to talk some sense into somebody who's just hard-headed and didn't want to hear it. So I think at some point Polly just kind of walked away, and then they ended up leaving shortly after.
Oh, wow. I had heard that too, but I didn't know the details. That sounds about right. I think Paulie seems like a really level-headed man. Like he's not going to go making an ass out of himself on national television yet.
He's another one. He is no Joe Gorga.
And it looks like him and Louis have really like developed a friendship. We're seeing pictures of them online, hanging out.
Yes, they're pretty close. And you know what? I think that those men on the show, the ones that are like down to earth, real, authentic, are the ones who gravitate towards one another, like the ones who are for show. Like I've been saying it for some time. what I'm hearing from sources and from behind the scenes of season 14, I do think that this season the Fudas are going to be the new Gorgas, especially John Fuda. Like, especially that first group event, Jen Fessler's party, he was being so extra.
Ugh,
He was really behaving like Joe Gorga.
ugh. What do people comment about John Fuda? Because there was a lot that came out about his son's, mother, Brittany, and she had released some messages. Can you tell us a little bit about what went down or what you know about that?
Yeah, again, a lot of people in the comments were talking about how he's a lot like Joe Gorga. He was over here projecting all this bullshit onto Louis. And meanwhile, he has all these horrible, dark things in his past. Like, I'm even shook that he's on a reality show with his past. And I'm a champion for those. Like, I'm rooting for the person who has changed their life, who rehabilitated their life, who is no longer the drug dealer or who's no longer the drug addict. Like, good for you, more power to you. But for someone to come on national television and accuse somebody, which he accused Louis, of reaching out to Brittany, to sit here and say all these horrible things about Louis, who's just been dragged to the damn gutter for 2 years. And here was John Fuda continuing that horrible, like, Margaret pattern. When he has all this shit in his past, people are just like, dude, you're living in a glass house. Stop. So I love that people were able to see that. And yes, even though he's no longer a drug dealer that I know of, and he's no longer using drugs, like, who is he now to start throwing all this mud around towards another person? Like, especially when there's people out there who can talk about you. And where he, I think, got into muddy waters was talking about Brittany. And I know Rachel did most of the talking in regards to Brittany, because she did mention, like, what kind of a mother doesn't have her kid in her life? Like, when Rachel got involved, and this is according to Brittany, when Rachel got involved with John Fuda, their son was being raised by John Fuda's mother. So after John Fuda took custody of Brittany and John Fuda's son, he didn't take custody and then move the son in with him and raise him. The son went to go live with the mother and was raised by a nanny. Brittany, 4 years after they took custody away from her, was able to visit her son at John Fuda's mother's house while John Fuda was dating Rachel.
Mm.
And so why a lot of people are saying Rachel used adoption as her storyline in season 13 is because it's obvious as fuck. Okay, the kid is 2 years away from being 18. She met John Fuda over 6 years ago. What took her so long to adopt him?
I don't know. It's like, that does sound a little like bogus to me. And it also sounds like if you guys are brand new on the show, like, you shouldn't be struggling for a storyline already. Like, why are we hearing this right now? I'm uncomfortable.
I think it's funny that they're pissed off that Brittany even opened her mouth, because if they have a right to bash her on TV, she has a right to tell us her side. We need to hear her truth. And the thing about Brittany is they want to cast her off as some drug addict, like someone who's just in prison, a lowlife. Like, he has said some stuff, and I hope they should, because it's been recorded in season 14. He has said some shit about her. It's like, okay, when are you going to stop talking about somebody who's not on the show? And when are you going to stop being upset when she actually speaks up? And what was the best thing to come out of my conversation with Brittany? That we were able to get that receipt from the executive reporter at The Sun. When Brittany was curious, because she didn't even know why the lady reached out to her. And when she asked her, she made it very clear how she found Brittany, why she was looking for Brittany, and that Louis had nothing to do with it. So if we see the Fudas trying to push the narrative that, again, Louis brought out my baby's mama, he found, he had Bodito go looking for her, blah, blah, blah. We traced it back to Louis, which was a complete lie. He's going to look like a fool, because we have the receipt that is not the case.
Yeah. I mean, I deal with women who are, recovering from mental health and addiction, and they're like in, family court. And it's usually a situation where you have two parents that are both on drugs, right? And John Fuda's parents have a little bit of money, so they get him paid representation while Brittany gets a public defender. And John's mom takes custody because she has the most money, and she lets John come and go as he pleases, even when he's using drugs. And Brittany is restricted until she gets her life together, right? And they put everything on the mother without looking at John's part in any of it. Like, it's insane.
Yeah, it's crazy. They're hypocrites. They're hypocrites. Like, yes, even if you're no longer that person, don't sit here and bash a person who's trying to rehabilitate her life when you were able to do it without criticism. Like, don't go on national television and drag somebody through the mud and then get pissed off that she's talking. And again, they're trying to pin her off as like this low life junkie who doesn't know what she's talking about. Everything she told me, I went looking for it from the street where John Bruno, his attorney at the time, who got him off all those charges, from the street where the guy was working off of, like everything. He's still at that location, the lawyer. Like, she knew everything. She knew court dates. I know we weren't able to get into the details because he had his record expunged and he paid a boatload of money for that, which you can do.
Oh yeah.
So the details were not there, but the dates, like, she knew everything. She remembered everything from their time in Florida together when they came back to Jersey. She mentioned how he was the biggest drug dealer in Bergen County. Anyone strung out at that time knew who he was, how he intimidated people. She talked about everything in detail. She had names, she had dates, she had addresses. Like, she remembered everything. So I think that they're petrified for her to open her mouth further. And as we speak right now, she is released from her halfway house. Good for her. And I hope she surfaces with a really like big news, agency, maybe TMZ, somebody,
Yeah.
like, give us the interview. Like, I can only put
Yes.
what's out there. Like, she has a story and it's very captivating, and they cannot even get mad because they're the ones who brought her into this conversation.
Absolutely. And they took advantage of the fact that she was incarcerated and didn't think that she was going to come out and say anything, because they pretty much kicked her while she was down. And they're basically telling everyone, don't listen to this woman because she's been on drugs and she doesn't even have custody of her son. So why would you listen to somebody who doesn't have custody of their child? And so it's like, if the audience writes off what this woman has to say, then you might as well just like write off every drug, person in recovery that because that's basically what she's living a different life. She's been sober now for a while. Like, she understands her consequences and she's speaking about her experience, and she has every right to do so.
Yeah, and you know what? I think if Joe Gorga wants to sit there at the reunion and say that Louis is abusing women and all this like bullshit that he's just pulling out of thin air based off of like gossip that he's heard. How about we speak of facts? Because Brittany herself told me that John Fuda was reaching out to her halfway house, silencing her, intimidating her to shut her up because he didn't want her to talk. He actively was silencing her. So if we want to say anyone on that cast is abusing women and taking advantage, it's John Fuda. To this day, silencing her. So he may not be a drug addict anymore and he may not be a drug dealer, but he is garbage because he is actively silencing the mother of his child for speak. All she wants to do is tell the truth. All she wants to do is tell the truth. And he is sitting there intimidating her. So now that she's out, I hope she, gets everything in line together, even a lawyer, and she tells her story.
Do you think that Rachel knows the lengths of his his dealings? Do you think that she knows about
That's
how
a 50-50 because, they are married, and I tell my spouse everything. I mean, I'm not telling my spouse when I was 14, I was doing this and that, but I'm sure maybe she knows like to an extent. I don't know if she knows it all, but I'm sure some stuff is like new to her. And I mean, the fact that he was actively like during like the month of June reaching out to her halfway house to shut her up because she was talking, that alone, like as a wife, I'd be like, whoa, like who am I dealing with here?
Did Rachel and Brittany know each other ever until he started dating Rachel?
They didn't know each other.
Okay.
No, they didn't know each other.
Crazy. I wonder, what is the story, Rachel and John? They tell people that she was a bartender and that's how they met each other and started dating. That he started coming into the bar to meet her. That's their love story. They're sticking to it. So that's fine.
Who knows? But one thing I do know about Bravo Lover 1234 is that just recently there was another Finsta that popped up, and she was using a picture of like a little girl. It was really weird. It was separate from the Bravo Lover 1234 Instagram. There was another one because if you go on Frank Catania's girlfriend Brittany, Brittany and Rachel were friends for years, long before she met John Fuda. And she was tagging her. Remember when Frank was training them and they were doing like the bodybuilding thing? There's posts that Brittany still has up where she was tagging Rachel's Instagram back then, and it's still active, but there's a picture of a little girl, and it's not Rachel. And there's like comments and things like that. So it's like, how many Finstas did Bravo Lover really have? And is she still on that, incognito creeping on people?
I mean, I figure that probably when they're like rallying the truth, she's probably like activating these accounts, I would assume, because like look at how many accounts we see with, Messi over there. Like she's
Oh
running
my
a lot of
gosh,
accounts
God
for her
the
family.
Lord. I just had somebody the other day send me, and I didn't want to put it out there because I only want to talk about them if it's like, and it was a receipt too, so I could have stuck it out there. It was crazy. So if you go on the Gorgas Instagrams and you take a look at some of their likes on some of their posts, they have thousands and thousands of likes. If you start going through the people, and somebody literally took the time to go through the people who are liking these posts that had like 60,000 likes, 100,000 likes, every other account did not have a picture. And it was like so and so name number 1 2 3 4 5. Like no posts, no like there was no activity, but pretty much these bots liking the Gorgas pages. It's like, oh my God, you guys, again, everything when it comes to them it's fake.
Yeah.
Um,
Just so listeners understand, basically what these bots are, what they're buying. So they go and they buy like 50,000 likes for their Instagram posts, and these bots are like fake accounts, so they don't have profile names. They'll have generic usernames like user 1 2 3 4 5 6. Those are bots. They're not real people. They are paid for, likes or comments from companies.
yeah, yeah. And you know what? They have a long history. I mean, her followers alone. How many receipts have been put out there? Go through her followers. Every other account there's no profile picture and there's no posts. There's no followers. They're following like a weird like Bitcoin company in like India. It's weird. Yeah, it's
Weird.
it's crazy.
That is
It's so fake.
crazy.
It's so
Um,
fake. It just shows you the level of thirst on their part. Like anything to try to seem popular, relevant, and liked and wanted. Again, like with these producers ushering the crowds to like swarm them to make it look like they have fans.
Yeah. And we even saw, I think, a DM come through to someone talking about how, like, the producer was going back and forth and whispering to some of the cast and making them, like, confront each other. Do you know anything about, have your sources told you anything about Jennifer and
Yeah,
Melissa having a sit
yeah. So there was a lot of people talking, and there are several sources that have told me that Melissa did approach Jennifer and she wanted to talk with her. So I also hear that it's happened. So
Me
we'll have
too.
to wait and see. Yeah. So we'll have to wait and see if that sit down did go down. And Melissa definitely approached Jennifer to discuss. And I think the number one thing that needs to be discussed when it comes to them is BravoCon.
Bravo Con. Yep.
BravoCon. There is a lot there. I mean, I'm going to be shook if the Gorgas are going to act this season as to like if they're going to play dumb and be like, oh, why are you mad? I don't understand. Like they know. Even their little PR boy, he knows too. He was in the mix. He was involved. He was talking shit to Jennifer. Like, what low class people are going to sit here and attack her, and then their PR also join in? Disgusting.
Embarrassing. Embarrassing. Very embarrassing for them. And also, I think that, again, Melissa and Joe are going to do what they do best. And Melissa's going to go for Jennifer, and Joe's going to go for Bill, because Melissa basically buffers all of Joe's chauvinistic ways. And she'll apologize probably to Jennifer, but she'll still buffer between Jennifer and Joe, I assume.
Yeah. Yeah. I think they're going to have their sit down, and I'm sure BravoCon will be discussed. And I really hope Jennifer makes her work for that, because there's a lot that they have to answer for. I mean, it wasn't just BravoCon, it was a series of disgusting interviews after BravoCon where they continued to bash Jennifer. And especially, remember after the BravoCon incident that Jennifer's assistant put out that TikTok explaining how everything went down, because we were being fed that it was Jennifer throwing a drink. She was being like hysterical, like she was out of control. Workers were trying to look like they were the victims. And thank God that Jennifer's assistant, she was able to record it and put that TikTok out, because it explained the whole story and we got the
Yes.
truth. And
Yes.
even after that, we had Joe Gorga on a podcast. It was on YouTube with Frank. He was like, don't believe what you guys see. That's not even how it went down. They sat there and continued to say that Jennifer was on like this social media tour, pushing lies, hiring bots to defend her. When it's like, you guys, we saw you on camera. You guys were instigating. Melissa was the first one to talk shit. Then your fucking PR jumped in. Like, don't try to spin this and play victim. Like, don't gaslight us. We're not stupid. Tell us all you want that don't believe what you saw in that video, but we're not stupid. Like, so, if that sit down took place, I hope that Jennifer really like drills her because again, the Gorgas have had years of practice. Like they have played victim for years. So I'm sure she probably went into that sit down and was like, oh, I don't understand why you're so upset. Typical gaslighting.
I want to also bring up the fact I was actually just going to post about this, and I had talked to you the other day about Justin, the hairdresser to the stars, and how when BravoCon happened, he actually accompanied Teddy Mellencamp to BravoCon and Tamra Judge, and he was sitting in as co-host because Tamra actually worked BravoCon. Teddy did not. She was just there for the podcast. Anyways, Justin is hairdresser to the stars. He gets in an elevator with Melissa. He's a fan. She snubs him. He literally says, she snubs me. She treats me like she's J-Lo, and I am like nothing, scum of the earth, right? She says it on the Two T's in a Pod podcast. Literally, the next week, he is going on Melissa's podcast. Melissa reached out to his team. She went in on his live video. They talked privately, and then he went on her podcast. But like they are so strategic that they cut that out of the Two T's in a Pod podcast back from their October episode. And then they also cut it out of Melissa's On Display podcast from back in October. There's a small clip at the beginning where her and Justin are talking about an incident, but they don't relate to it anymore. They don't talk about it in the actual episode. So they cover this stuff up all of the time. And if you didn't follow that live, you would never know that that happened.
Yes. Oh my gosh. I remember that because it didn't make sense that they were discussing something. And we were like, what the hell were they discussing? And then it did come out that they were discussing, she was completely disrespectful to him. When she saw him in the elevator, she shunned him. Like she was typical Melissa. And this isn't the first incident that we heard that they're rude to fans. We just saw there was several people reporting it. People were DMing large accounts saying, hey, I saw them. They were disrespectful. They were rude. Remember at BravoCon, all that hoopla about how all that noise that people waited hours to see them. There was fans there wanting to take pictures with them, and they just walked away. Like they were only there for like 3 minutes. And then they tried to turn around and say, oh, whoever was in charge of us telling us to go here and there, they didn't know what they were doing and they were telling us to go here and everywhere and we were confused. So sorry, fans, we didn't get to take pictures with you for those who are waiting in line. But that's not the first time we hear that they're disrespectful and rude to the fans. And they were like that at the baseball game too. I think All About the TRH, Roxanne talked about it as well.
That's really sad, guys, because you have to remember there would be no Melissa Gorga or like without fans, without viewers. So you have to be good to the people. We know that Teresa always is humble, gracious. We've never heard a bad thing about Teresa, and she used to do a lot of meet and greets with her books when they would come out, book signings in New Jersey. Like she was out and about in the community meeting people.
Yeah, and you still hear it to this day. Like Frank was just on a podcast a couple of weeks ago, and he was like, I'll say one thing about Teresa. Whenever we do go out, the fans swarm around her. People just gravitate to her, and she takes her time with people.
Oh, I love that. I love that.
I just posted it too. Somebody on Twitter, this really sweet girl was talking about how she was seated at the baseball game at the very end of the stadium where no one else was around her. And she literally watched Teresa make her way from one end to the other. And she came all the way to where there was no one but her and her mom or her and her sister. And she took pictures with them. I posted it. It's one of my latest posts on my Instagram.
Oh my gosh, guys, definitely go check that out. I haven't seen it yet, so I'm going to check that out on all RHONJ facts. That is so sweet. I feel like Teresa is really a genuine. Even Carlos King said, Teresa forgets she's famous. Like she doesn't travel with security. She's in the mall shopping on Sundays. Like she is down to earth. She's very humble, very, very humble. And we know we get the opposite from the other one. So
and that's why people love her so much. I mean, she's always on track. Teresa just constantly has fans season after season. I know that she does get hate on social media. All of them do. And I'm really like, it boggles my mind that she gets hate because she is the most authentic one on that cast. But
Mhm.
I do know like the humble never stumble, baby. And she has been consistent with her fans. And tree huggers are loyal as fuck. Like, I'm a tree hugger. I am not afraid to say that.
Same.
And I mean, it's for a reason. We relate to real. Seriously. And that's why her fans are so loyal to her.
Absolutely. And they're loyal to other tree fad fans. Like if you have a problem on Instagram, you can go to Twitter and not even know these people. But if they're tree huggers, like they're gonna come to your defense and help you.
Yeah.
Seriously. It's insane. Like there's a lot of camaraderie among the Bravo community, like tree huggers on like social media.
Oh, 1000%.
So, well, before we wrap this up, I'm so glad that you were able to come on, guys. Make sure that you check her out on Instagram, all RHONJ facts. Do you have any last thoughts before we close up?
Yeah, so I think at this point, production, because I really don't think Joe Gorga approached Bill Aiden at the baseball game all on his own. I definitely do think production is now. We've had several group events. We've had several like solo scenes out to lunch, here and there, these girls and the other girls. Like plenty has, happened since day one of season 14. So I think production is at the point, based off of what I'm hearing, where now they're going to start getting into like the deeper stuff. So I think, and I don't think they want dark drama this season. So I think they're going for little minor things. But I do think now production is ready to tell certain cast members, guys, it's time to meet up with the other side. It's time to have the sit down. It's time to start talking. So that's why I do believe Joe Gorga approached Bill Aiden. And that's why Melissa approached Jennifer. And as they start having their one on one discussions, I do believe production is going to go to the Gorgas once more and say, it's time to reach out to Teresa. But I do believe based off of everything that I am seeing, based off the fact that she is literally paying the Gorgas dust. The moment that they approach Teresa, like, "Hey, it's time for a sit down," I think she's gonna, stick to her truth in the fact that she is really done. She let it all out at the reunion. There's nothing left to say. They're not going to agree on anything. Yes, they've both like hurt each other. I think the Gorgas have hurt her far more than she ever hurt them. But there's nothing left to say. So I hope that when they do approach Teresa, because it's coming, guys, that she's just like, I'm good.
Do you think that it will be strictly just Joe and Melissa and Teresa? Will it be Louie and Teresa? Will it be all four of them? Will it be just because I know a lot
I
of
think
people would
Melissa.
love to see just
I
Joe and
think.
Teresa, just
I
Joe and
think.
Teresa.
I don't think it's going to be Melissa approaching Teresa because I think Melissa has too much pride. I think it's going to be Joe Gorga approaching Teresa, and I think maybe it'll be a one-on-one.
That would be awesome. I
But
would like to
but you
see
know
that.
what? I want to see the Kathy energy. Remember Teresa went in there and yeah, it was a little
Yes.
emotional at the end. She cried, but it was like she was closing a chapter. So I hope she gives them
Yes.
the same energy. Like, we're not going to agree. It is what it is. Like, peace be with you. Bye. Like, I'm not even invested anymore. And based off of like her behavior that I'm witnessing, she's checked out. She's done. She is really done. I think she let it all out at the reunion. She got it out of her system. They really hurt her that by not going to her wedding. Not only did they not go to her wedding, they made like the weeks leading up to her wedding a fucking nightmare. Like,
Ugh.
it was just one thing after another. They called her daughter a liar on national television. Even after
Yes.
Gia called in and talked to Andy, they were still calling her a liar. I mean, I, I, I
Ugh.
think I think there is just too much damage. I think it's beyond repair, and I think like to protect her peace, that's it. She's done.
Yeah. And she looks so happy. She's in Switzerland right now with Louis.
Yes,
She looks
yes.
amazing. Like they're traveling, their smiles, like they are rainbows and butterflies. And I feel like the Gorgas are like sweating. They're probably fighting. They probably hate each other behind closed doors.
Yeah.
Who knows what's
And
going on behind closed doors?
they have not just one, but several lawsuits in court right now, and one is a huge one. So that's weighing over them.
Oh, for sure. That's a lot of stress. Absolutely. And I'm sure that that does not make Melissa happy at all. I'm sure that I can only imagine. They probably go at it. Can you imagine like cats and dogs?
Yeah, and you know what? I really do believe like Teresa is not a social butterfly like on social media. Like she's not a Melissa Gorga watching everything and stalking everybody. But and then I say that because recently there was some drama going on with one podcaster and another, and my girl Roxanne was being attacked. But anyway, who did we see comment about karma is a bitch? Literally within like a minute of that post being dropped, Melissa Gorga. How did she respond so fast on a new post? That's what I mean. Like
Yes.
Teresa's not out there stalking social media talking shit like Melissa. Like Melissa literally lives on social media. And according to Laura Jensen, and I totally believe it, so does Margaret. She's up all damn night on that iPad. She doesn't sleep and she's just digging, talking to people, stalking accounts. Like it's ridiculous.
Yes.
But anyway, so Teresa is just out living her life. She is not worried about what's going on social media, but I do hope that she is seeing, and I'm sure people are taking it to her. Melissa's family is still coming for her, still coming for her daughters, and Teresa hasn't even paid them dust.
Oh, I saw that.
Like
I saw
her
Donna
mom,
Marcos claiming she got hacked after she tweeted all this
yeah,
terrible stuff.
no, that another liar. Sorry, but she's a liar.
I mean, like, insane that after 10 years, they're still coming after this woman on Twitter. Like, imagine, we know what it's like when we get backlash from them online, but imagine what Teresa's endured for 10 years because they are a media machine. They are
Well,
a media machine.
they are. And I wouldn't even believe Joe Gorga if he approached Teresa tomorrow and said, listen, I want to make peace. I love you, blah, blah, blah. Because even after the reunion where he called Gia a liar, there they were on their podcast. Remember when Melissa recently said on a podcast after the reunion where she was like, oh, like some people getting all dolled up doing confessionals, referring to Gia, talking shit again and still.
That's
So
terrible.
I wouldn't believe anything the Gorgas had to say. I mean, the best thing for Teresa would be like, okay, like literally like plug her ears as he talks and be like, are you done? Thank you. Bye.
Yeah, for sure. I don't think she should like listen to him because I feel like he pulls on her heartstrings. He knows where to tug, and unfortunately, he's been manipulating her for a long time.
Yeah, yeah.
So, okay. Well, thank you so much for coming on. I'm so excited. I think we got so much tea from you. I'm going to post all of your links in the information so that you guys can go visit her page on Instagram. Make sure you guys stay tuned. Anything else that you want to say before you hop off? Or,
Are you going to BravoCon?
I mean, I'm working on it. I'm going to Namaste Bitches live on October 5th.
Yay!
I
Yay!
know. I'm
Yes. Oh my gosh!
excited.
Everybody, go check out it. They're on Eventbrite. Namaste
Yes.
Business Live. It's coming up in October 5th.
Yes, I'm excited. There's a lot of girls that like I talk with
Oh, and
online that are
I'm
going to be
I'm
there.
just gonna put it out there, you guys. Put two and two together. They're filming right now. The show is going on. That event is definitely going to be filmed. Get there. They're going to have like so many things going on. They're going to have other people there. It's going to be exciting and fun. Oh my gosh.
I was like, wait for me to buy my tickets until you tell them that it's being filmed. I'm like, I gotta
Yeah.
go buy them like right now before
Yeah,
everyone
and
hears this.
unlike a liar on the cast who said that her VIP is sold out, you guys can go in and purchase tickets and see that Teresa's seating chart where the tickets have sold out is the VIP section. So
Yes, absolutely. I mean, I'm excited. It's going to be so fun. Everyone, like tree huggers again, we all love each other. We don't even know each other and we go to events and hang out like we're old
yeah.
friends. So,
Yeah, I know a lot of people are going. I wish I was on the East Coast because I would love to go, but I'm all the way in California, so I'll be out there, California. I'm sure they're going to announce it because Melissa Feaster lives in California. So she's actually like 45 minutes south of from where I am, so we're pretty
I'm
close
so
by.
jealous. Gosh, I
Yeah,
love California.
so
It's so
I'm
beautiful.
waiting. I'm waiting for the California Namaste Bitches live event, and I'll be at that one. But oh my gosh, if I was on the East Coast, you guys, I would already have my ticket. So
For
much is going
sure.
to go down, and it's going to be filmed. It's going to be a blast.
I know. I'm excited. Yes, I gotta go get my ticket now as soon as we hang up. Okay. Well, good. Thank you again so much for hopping on. And if anyone has any questions, I'll reach out to you. But I'll put all your information in the bottom. And I hope you have a great night. Thank you again for your time.
Yes, thank you for having me.